mentioned potential land strikes. Can you elaborate anything on that?
Yeah, I'll elaborate. If they come in through a certain country or any country, or if we think they're building mills for whether it's fentanyl or cocaine. I hear Colombia, the country of Colombia, is making cocaine. They have cocaine manufacturing plants, okay? And then they sell us their cocaine. We appreciate that very much. But yeah, anybody that's doing that and selling it into our country is subject to attack.
So not necessarily just Venezuela?
No, not just Venezuela, no. Venezuela's been very bad. Venezuela's been really bad in something else, probably worse than most, but a lot of other people do it too. They would send murderers into our country. They would empty their jails into our country. They sent people into our country that we don't want. They sent their drug dealers and their drug people into our country. They sent people from their mental institutions into our country, and we're getting them out. That was bad. That was real bad. And they also...
Something ain't right.
All right. I think we're here. I think we're good. What could go wrong? Because it's the hunt for Maduro. It's well overdue for the neocons, but not soon enough for the Zions. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Real Deal Media's extremely dangerous show, World at War. I am Dean Ryan, and you just heard it right. Yes, I just got kicked out. I'm back now, but it is the hunt for Maduro, as you can plainly see there. It's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. We're making the moves here, checking the list once or twice, and it's never nice to just say the least. Tonight is a big show, as the #1 shadow ban show is here for you tonight, as we're going to get into the hunt for Maduro. Also, something that Pompeo, the former head of the CIA, is now calling blood libel. If you are a critic, you are blood libel. And when people start invoking blood into their dogmas, it's game on. It's game on. And when it's game on, the Irish come to play, the Fighting Irish. Yeah. We have a major World War III segment here tonight, but also Real Deal International is coming back with a vengeance, and it's starting in Ireland, as the People's Republic of Ireland, the true people, the true Irish, they are now becoming, I should say, rising to the occasion, showing the world what the Fighting Irish is all about. You're going to see an incredible piece coming up in the second half here tonight on just that. And England better pay attention, and pay attention good. You're going to love that. Also, we have some major stories coming. Well, we have some positive stories here tonight in the Real Deal politics. Grandpa Munster's coming out of his coffin and telling the world about some new financial savings for Americans. Just how real is it? and what in the world is that going to entail? He's going to give us a little briefing on that. Yes, he is. And also, the nominees for, get this now, the nominees for the anti-Semite of the year have been announced, and I'm going to name those nominees. Will our very own Jim Fetzer be one of the nominees here on the list? We'll find out, and he is here tonight to find out himself, and he's prepared. I don't know if he's in tuxedo tonight. We'll find out. He's really big into the big old monkey suits, so we'll see what that is. Also, I have a big announcement tonight following that list of the nominees that you're going to be incredibly stunned by. So you don't want to miss that as well. And plus, some of the stories we missed last night on last night's epic show, nearly 2 hours with Neil Bishop. If you missed that one, it's a real doozy. It's incredible. Anyways, let's get started here. But before we do, we are broadcasting live. We're broadcasting live over there at TheRealDeanRyan over there on Facebook, the travel page. Hello, everybody. And looks like I'm about to do some kind of palm reading here. What's with these lights around here? Pardon me. We're over there at the Real Dean Ryan on Facebook, as well as Dean Ryan TV on YouTube, and we are on Rumble. I hope we are. Anyways, hello to everybody. And for all those who were worried about me yesterday, today was great. I did not get electrocuted. I did not die in the laboratory. I am good. So I'm healthy to report that. Okay, let's now get started with some headlines from around the world and in your neck of the woods. Real deal headlines. Let's talk about it now. Well, this is really something, as now the suspected D.C. shooter over there that got the National Guardsman just over the weekend, I believe. Well, that's now coming back into the fold here as the shooter, who's not Mossad, they swear. Well, get this now. He's now the suspect in the D.C. National Guard shooting. Ram Manuel Laknama. Let me try that again. We call him Ron around here. He shouted Allah Akbar while firing a gun, charging. It's now official in the documents. Now the crazed gunman, they're saying, accused of shooting 2 National Guard troops stationed over there on the streets of Washington, D.C., shouted Allahu Akbar as he fired his weapon. Can you believe it? Does that look like a guy that would do ever such a thing? I mean, come on. That looks like somebody's cousin somewhere in Tel Aviv, that is. Moving right along here. So now the man who's 29 years old, he's from Afghanistan. He's a national who entered in the U.S. in 2021 following the U.S. military pullout and worked on one of the CIA's, quote, 0 units. Now, wait a minute here. We're now hearing he worked for the CIA, just like the shooter in Australia from 2014, who had the shotgun and was shooting everyone up at the Australian Broadcasting System over there, or company. They had ties to him and their secret services. They were following him, and now we're hearing it again. What a coincidence. Just a coincidence. Well, now, he was part of something called 0 units, and he shot the West Virginia National Guard member Specialist Sarah Bergstrom and Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf in broad daylight. Just incredible. He's now been charged with first-degree murder officially, while armed in Beckstrom's murder during Tuesday hearings. The D.C. prosecutors at his hospital bedside, where he's being held under guard as he recovers from gunshot wounds himself. So there you have it. Now, what's interesting about this, and is another story with many, many holes and many ties to people within. Who does this serve, and why is it another CIA asset, just like every other lone gunman? And we're probably not going to see the trial. We're probably not going to hear any testimony from him. His lawyer is probably going to be provided by the powers that be, and case closed, just like the Charlie Kirk case. Yes. Yeah, ask Erica Kirk, and she might tell you, and depending who you ask or which one or which Erica in that case. Well, there's how that one goes. Now, this next story here is something that's very concerning to me as we continue to get into the headlines. Uh, we have seen this from time to time on here in places like this, but you never hear about this in the lamestream, that is, urine soaked media, and it's now peeking its way. Now, as a New York student, New York University student, is another random victim who has been shoved to the ground by what appears to be, well, let's just, random black guys are now going after white women. And they're going after them in the academia world or universities and just walking by and punching them out. And I'm going to show you the video, but this is happening a lot and nobody's covering it. But let me tell you a bit more about this, and I'm going to show you the video following. Near an NYU student was now thrown to the ground while walking to class in Lower Manhattan on Monday morning with the shocking, unprovoked attack caught on surveillance video. Yeah, it's happening constantly. And you bet it's happening in England and Germany and anywhere the white woman be. Well, the victim's name is Amelia Lewis. She said she was walking down Broadway shortly, just in the morning, Monday, when a violent vagrant came up behind her and attacked her without warning. She said, quote, "I was walking like with my headphones on, listening to music. I felt something slap me so hard on my backside, and then she was assaulted." So, and very well could be the migrant situation here, because I guess this is a custom thing in certain countries. Well, check this video out, and women, I should say, white women, pay attention carefully, because I mean, this is happening, as daft as it sounds, and the facts don't lie. But you got to be prepared. You got to know about it. Here it is. Creeping up her before the attack and fleeing while she laid on the ground.
You can see that he literally followed me across the street, and that's him right there, and he literally targets me and approaches me and does this. I turned around, he like grabbed my hair like this and like yanked me and like threw me to the ground. My like headphones went flying, and I was just like on the ground, and I saw him just like bolt away down Waverly.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you. Yeah, our hearts go out to the victim. This is happening more and more and more. And, what's the penalty? What's the penalty? Because cops are told they're not allowed to, stop people of color in some cases, or in this case, you're not allowed to stop and frisk what are clearly mentally disturbed vagrants that are now littered throughout the streets. California being one of them, New York, you bet. The bluer the city, the more reason you have to feel that you're going to be attacked in that case, especially. I'll tell you that. Well, now here's a not so disturbing story as we continue our Real Deal headlines. Well, now a school in Iowa is now had enough themselves, as they have now overhauled curriculum in their schools. The fetal development lessons replace gender identity policies. Yes, that's right. Iowa will now require schools to teach students in grades 5 through 12 about prenatal development, starting at fertilization, using approved visual aids, excluding materials from pro-abortion groups. The state has now removed gender identity as protected class in school policies, replacing it with gender theory, aligning with conservative efforts to limit discussions on gender and sexuality in schools. Advocacy groups like the Inspired Life argue Inspired Life, that's the group, not schools, should guide children's understanding of gender, while critics warn that all the changes marginalize transgender students, which I'm still arguing that there's no such thing as transgender. It's a big pharma hoax that was developed by the Psychiatric American Association, or the American Psychiatric, you know what I mean. So it's nothing but a fixture and a byproduct of the big pharma people. Well, now the fetal development curriculum supports Iowa pro-life stance, aiming to shift public opinion on abortion, while the removal of gender identity protections follows broader Republican-led education reforms. In closing, the new rule grants Iowa's the high school apparatus over there to authority to investigate abuse by school staff, requiring termination of guilty employees and heightened scrutiny over misconduct in schools. So there's a sweeping reform, you might start seeing more and more of that as we go forward into 2026. Well, now, as that's out of the way, as we get to World War III, the tension is rising, and the hunt for Maduro is only just begun, and it is sickening, but it's our reality. Let's get to World War III, shall we? It's that time. World War III, let's talk about it now, as things seem to be heating up, as our main story of the night is now at play. Yes, it is. Maduro has been offered a peace deal by Trump and the people behind him, and he's now rejected it. And let me tell you why that is, because it is quite stunning. Well, Maduro has now rejected what he's described a slave's peace, or I should say slave's deal for peace, but Venezuela, yes, he's now preparing for an all-out assault that's coming his way. I've never seen anything like it since the Iraq War. It is very reminiscent of such, and it is rather disturbing. But in this case, he's preparing, and I'm going to tell you what all the details are with Maduro, as his army is now not just the military, it's the people, the militias. And what am I talking about? Well, now thousands have now rallied in Caracas in support of President Nicolas Maduro as concerns grow over potential U.S. military action against Venezuela as we speak. He's now repeated the calls for peace and pledged for absolute loyalty to his people at a rally attended by thousands, as I just mentioned. And tensions have now escalated over potential military action by the United States at behest of Israel. I mean, let's just be honest here. Now, the rally on Monday came as U.S. President Donald Trump met with his national security team at the White House to discuss, quote, the next steps on Venezuela, according to media reports now. Maduro, addressing the crowd, waving Venezuelan flags outside his palace, said his country wanted peace, but only peace with sovereignty, equality, and freedom. We do not want a slave's peace, nor peace of colonies. Colony never, slaves never, he said. Now, the Trump administration has been piling pressure like no one's business on Venezuela with a military buildup in the Caribbean and what it calls an anti-drug trafficking campaign. Now, Caracas says the actions are aimed at toppling Maduro's government. With that said, the U.S. has now amassed 15,000 troops in the region and deployed the world's largest aircraft carrier. Yes, while also designating the Cartel de las Soles, which it describes as drug trafficking cartel led by Maduro, and labels it a terrorist organization. Well, if they play their cards right, they just might pick one of these guys to lead, the opposition and become the president of places like, Syria, if they just wait it out. Well, now, in addition to that, it also carried out 21 strikes on the alleged drug boats over there in the Caribbean, as we discussed last night, for the war crimes and the Pacific. Now, since September, there's been at least 83 documented people who have now perished in these strikes against the boats. Now, experts have now said the assembled U.S. firepower far outweighs what is necessary for a drug trafficking operation. While Caracas says the U.S. is seeking regime change to take control of Venezuela's vast natural resources, including oil. In addition to that, Maduro also accused the U.S. of waging a campaign of psychological terrorism. He said, quote, "We have now endured 22 weeks of aggression. The 22 weeks have put us to the test, and the people of Venezuela has demonstrated their love for the homeland." Now, meanwhile, as this is now happening, Trump has now confirmed Sunday that he spoke to Maduro on the phone, but declined to give details, saying it did not go well or badly. So it's ambiguous. Now, Reuters, owned by the Rothschilds news agency over there, they're citing 4 sources familiar with the matter, reported just today, I should say in the last 24 hours, that Trump offered Maduro a safe passage out of Venezuela during the call, the most recent call. Maduro told Trump he was willing to leave Venezuela provided he and his family members had full legal amnesty, including the removal of U.S. sanctions and the end of a flagship case he faces before the ICC, the International Criminal Court over there. And that would be something. Now, Maduro also requested the removal of the sanctions for more than 100 Venezuelan government officials, many accused by the U.S. of human rights abuses, drug trafficking, or corruption. Trump rejected most of these requests, people have said, but told Maduro he had a week to leave Venezuela for the destination of his choice alongside his family members. However, the safe passage that was offered to Maduro has now expired as of Friday, prompting Trump to declare on Saturday that Venezuela's airspace was closed. Now, in addition to this, this is now what we see happening in Caracas.
Luego de 20 días continuos de anuncios, amenazas, guerra psicológica, luego de 20 días de asedio contra la nación venezolana, hoy estamos más fuertes que ayer. Hoy estamos más preparados para defender la paz, la soberanía y la integridad territorial que ayer.
There you see it right there, Venezuelan president. Now, you got to remember, too, in the beginning of the year, in January, well, this was what Maduro offered Trump. He just publicly surrendered to Trump, in a sense. He has now turned over state evidence against the Biden administration, is releasing proof that Biden asked the Venezuelan government to ship the Tren de Agra drug gangs into the U.S. Who recalls that? But, well, that seemed to have failed and fallen upon deaf ears, didn't it? Continuing, before we go to our Real Deal Politics, we'll get Jim in here. Well, now, we're saying that now, well, what about what's happening in Ukraine? What about? Well, now, the Ukraine peace deal surely is going to happen. I mean, that's what the Mossad asset of Zelensky, he's all about, right? Well, I guess we're a little wrong on that. Now, the Ukraine peace deal has now fallen apart greatly, because the peace deal means you just forfeit everything that you want for yourself and your country over to the so-called people of freedom and, well, you know, the Zionist undertones. Well, President Putin has now told Europe and said that Europe has now sabotaged a peace deal internationally and warns that, quote, if Europe wants a war with us and starts it, a situation may quickly arise where there is no one left for us to negotiate with. And he's pretty serious about that. And, well, check this out.
Они же на стороне войны. И даже тогда, когда они пытаются якобы внести какие-то изменения в предложение Трампа, мы же это отчетливо видим. Все эти изменения направлены только на одно. На то, чтобы вообще заблокировать весь этот мирный процесс. Выдвинуть такие требования, которые для России являются абсолютно неприемлемыми. Они это понимают. И тем самым свалить потом на Россию сворачивания этого
the
мирного
collapse of this peace
процесса. Вот
process.
в чем их цель.
That
Мы
is
это
their goal.
отчетливо видим.
We see this clearly.
Мы не собираемся воевать с
We're
Европой,
not
я
going
уже
to have
об
a
этом
war with
скоро
Europe,
сказал.
but if Europe
Но если
certainly wants to
Европа
wage a
вдруг
war with
захочет
us,
с нами воевать и
starts
начнет,
it,
мы
we're ready
готовы
right
прямо
away.
сейчас.
They have no
С
doubt about
Украиной
that.
мы там действуем хирургическим
We're acting surgical with very precise manner. This is not a war, directly modern sense of the word. If Europe suddenly decides to wage war with us, they will lose. We will kick their ass to no end. Okay, well, that's just great. That's just wow. That's pretty hardcore. To speak a bit about this, as the World War III just continues to wage its burning sensations across the world, is our very own political analyst himself, and a former, I should say, not former, but always a Marine, the Marine known as Jim Fetzer. Jim, let's talk about what we just saw there. That is high stakes poker, is it not?
Well, Vladimir Putin said doing a surgical dissection of the attempts by Europe to alter the peace agreement, just as Russia is doing a surgical dissection of the Ukrainian armed forces. And you can believe it when he says that. If Europe wants to start a war with us, we are ready. And they may discover that there's no one for us to negotiate with. He has the ability to wipe Europe off the map, have no doubt about it. And the Europeans are deluded. But the problem is, because of their delusions, they might start the very war that's going to wipe Europe off the map. And I guarantee Russia can do it.
I want to get into Venezuela, but before we do, regarding the EU, they put their 20th sanctions on Russia just the other day. And the point has been made, and it's brilliant by many experts, but that if there's no war with Russia, a lot of these people are going to be indicted on some level of either war crimes or financial fraud. So they're kind of damned if they do, damned if they don't. But I think they picked the war in fulfilling that cause, because at least they could, lock down their countries more, just get rid of civil liberties, and kind of float a little bit. Don't you see that the case? That's why they want to keep going with this.
Oh, I think that's a lot of the explanation for it, Dean. Yes, they have their own self-interest at stake. It's like Netanyahu is terribly worried if he loses control of the flow in Israel, that he will be booted out of office. I think an awful lot of Israelis are very unhappy with the way he has destroyed the reputation of Israel. Those who are wealthy and able to do so, many are moving out of Israel. They're going to other nations, seeking to protect themselves from the consequences, because if Israel attacks Iran again, it is going to be all over. There will be nothing left.
Right, and his corruption case is just lurking around the corner. In fact, we tried to show this last night, but this is what he's saying as actively as we speak.
הגישו היום עורכי דינים בקשה לחנינה לנשיא המדינה. אני מצפה שכל מי שטובת המדינה לנגד עיניו יתמוך בצעד זה. עמדו לנגד עיניי פניותיו החוזרות ונשנות של הנשיא טראמפ לנשיא המדינה. הנשיא טראמפ קרא לסיום מיידי של המשפט כדי שאוכל.
Okay, so Jim, he's requesting a pardon from the president of Israel, and he's trying to invoke the U.S.
Trump himself and the Knesset asked that of President Herzog of Israel. But the fact is that in interference in the judicial procedures of a foreign nation, he ought not to have done it. On the other hand, Israel is running our government basically from afar. So what can we say? It's just all outrageous. Netanyahu is well known as the butcher for this mass murder, the slaughter of Palestinians, and the world will never forgive or forget.
No, but the ICC doesn't seem to act on any of this, nor the UN. What's the point of having these bodies made of different countries and submitting all these requests to take action when nothing happens? And what can people do?
Well, they've issued indictments, and the nations that are signatories to the ICC have an obligation to enforce them. Now, we, I believe, have never signed with the ICC, so we deny it has jurisdiction. But there are countries where if he travels, he will be arrested. And that number is growing gradually over time, Dean. But yeah, The International Criminal Court does not have an independent enforcement mechanism. You're absolutely correct.
No. So let's talk about Venezuela now. You saw this right here. This seems to be what's happening, and they're going to be using Puerto Rico as one of the strategic places, Jim. I guess what I'm asking is just how likely are we going to have troops on the ground? Because Trump is already at 34%. This is going to sink him to another level that's going to be worse than Bush, is it not?
Yeah, I suspect it will. The trouble is he's a blowhard and he's a thug, and it's getting us into deep trouble internationally. And blowing these boats out of the water was an outrage. The double tap, it's all over the news now. Congress is investigating. Hegseth's going to be indicted for war crimes or for murder. We got the Gerald Ford, but look, the Venezuelans have the Russian anti-ship missiles. And, I dare say again, if we attack Venezuela, anticipate every American vessel in the vicinity is going to go to the bottom of the sea. And those Venezuelans, he's got like 4 million armed militias, and these guys are tough. So, you send in 1,500 Marines. Look, obviously, I have great pride in the Corps, but it's not going to be a fair fight. The American forces are going to be annihilated. This is a colossally stupid move to be making. And the threats are embarrassing because he can't follow through without inviting catastrophe.
You don't think they're going to draft you back in the Corps, do you, Jim? If we go to
I'll be 85 on Saturday, Dean. I don't think they need me.
I got to ask. You never know in these cases. But now let's get to some politics, shall we? Real deal politics. Let's talk about it because there's a lot that seems to be happening. Well, as we hear about all the war talk, what about here on the homeland? What about the domestics? Well, this is seemingly just happened in the past 24 hours as Trump has said to have posted just a record amount of times, 400 times on Truth Social, just in a 24-hour cycle. And one of those posts has been, going viral all over the place. Well, this is what I'm talking about here. This is now Trump last night promoted a post that guaranteed Barack Obama will face military tribunals. There it is right there. When the director of national intelligence tells the public Obama committed treason, President Trump. He's your president. Okay, thank you for that. So it's getting to that point now. I guess we could say it's really getting to that point. Have you noticed? Well, as that is coming, a lot of people hear a lot of talk, but a lot of people rather, let's say, prefer the walk. And one of those people seems to be MTG, as she's now talking about it. And what about the files, Epstein? I'm not sure she believes the files are going to be released, let alone not redacted.
Congresswoman Green, you raised the question of whether or not the Justice Department will actually release these files. Do you take the president at his word when he says he's going to sign this bill, and do you have confidence that these files will actually be released?
I only take people's actions seriously, no longer words.
And what do you think the president's actions?
And I'll tell you, because I wasn't a Johnny-come-lately to the MAGA train. I was day one 2015, and there's a big difference in those Americans and those that decided to support President Trump later on. And I'll tell you right now, this has been one of the most destructive things to MAGA is watching.
Thank you for that. So she's not a believer any longer. That's safe to say. Speaking of which, there's now talk about Kristi Noem, who is now back in the headlines once again. Yes, she is. They're saying that, I guess her nickname is Trump or Trump's Ice Barbie. They just can't give her, she just can't get a fair shake, can she? Jeez. Well, now Kristi Noem is now calling for a travel ban on countries flooding the U.S. with killers. Trump's Homeland Security chief has now called for the U.S. travel ban on every country flooding our nation with killers, leeches, and entitlement junkies. Entitlement junkies. Yes, she is. And that's not all. They're going to pretty much go after, yes, like places like Venezuela, Afghanistan now, which I didn't know we were a big destination for them, from them, and a whole host of other things. But, however, she said, foreign invaders will not be welcomed to come here to slaughter our heroes. Says that's the kind of nation we are. So that's good that she's getting out and voicing her First Amendment while she still has one. And still, has anyone, by the way, has anyone seen the National Intelligence Director? You know what I'm talking about? Nobody's seen her. It's just Kristi Noem and just a few others. We have not seen the Dream Team wholeheartedly. I don't think so. Anyways, moving on here, back to isolation. Isolation. Well, Trump is now said to be isolated like no other. Yes, he is. They say he's the bubble-wrapped president. And I can say, I can verify that as truth. I can verify that as a thing, because that happened in the first term. You think that the double would understand not to let it happen this one, but it doesn't seem to be the case now. Well, now Trump has now surrounded himself with those who flatter him in places where he is comfortable. Yes, for now a decade, the Donald Trump rallies and allies are now intertwined with what is his new political identity. His big crowds were how he first got to the media and the Republican Party to take him seriously. That's right. Those who followed him closely have noticed a change as of late. Although Trump had been labeled certain ideologies within the conservative movement, they're now saying he is isolated and really doesn't have an idea of what is truly happening. And that was never more evident than the press conference that he performed on Air Force One just the other night, if you missed it, where they asked him about the pardoning of a very notorious drug trafficking dealer from Colombia, where he didn't seem to understand or know too much about it. But what I can tell you from what I was shared with many years ago is that it seems to be that they poison him with what I believe is called thallium, a mind control drug. And he doesn't know anything that's not on Fox News. But if you missed it last night, we'll play it again. And just look how confused he is. And look at the changes in coloration of all the different Trumps we seem to be seeing.
It's so clear how you want to keep drugs out of the U.S. Can you explain more about why you can pardon a notorious drug trafficker?
Well, I don't know who you're talking about. Which
Juan Fernando Hernandez.
Well, I was told, I was asked by Honduras, many of the people of Honduras, they said it was a Biden setup. Not only Biden, but Biden didn't do it a lot. But it was the people that surround Resolute desk surround Biden when he was there, which was about very little time. And the people of Honduras really thought he was set up and it was a terrible thing. He was the president of the country. And they basically said he was a drug dealer because he was the president of the country. And they said it was a Biden administration setup. And I looked at the facts and I agreed with them.
What evidence did you share that he was set up and that he wasn't?
Well, you take a look. I mean, they could say that you take any country you want. If somebody sells drugs in that country, that doesn't mean you arrest the president and put him in jail for the rest of his life.
President, can I just clarify something that you
That includes this country, okay? To be honest. I mean, if somebody does something wrong, you put the president of the country in jail. They said it was a Biden setup. It was a Biden administration setup. And you have a big race going on this week, next week. I think it's going to be a very important race. It'll be interesting to see Honduras. That's what you're talking about, right?
Correct, yes.
Yeah, very strange, isn't it? Very strange. So what we have here is this guy. Yeah, so this was sent to me by Neil Bishop just moments ago. Yes, thank you, Neil. And then you have this person here. So you have all these different looking colorations, and we're not sure who we're dealing with. And you know, your guess is as good as mine, but we know something is different, something is off, and a lot of it can be put on isolation. But that's what they did. They did it to JFK. They did it to Ronald Reagan. Who can forget how confused Ronald Reagan was during the Iran-Contra? He didn't know what was going on. So that's how we see that one, the bubble-wrapped president, sadly. Well, now a story that we did not get to last night, and it is now making a lot of alarmists very concerned, as now U.S. Senator Mitch McConnell has now slapped a federal ban on THC. Yeah, they're going after marijuana now. Yes, poor old Mitch, but this is truly a very serious thing now. Well, now here's what we know here is they're going after THC-infused drinks and snacks, just for starters. And this is a guy who's supposed to be leaving the Senate now. Now, production lines that are now using THC in their products, which features the compound that gets cannabis users so-called high. See, just like that. You got to go after mosquitoes when you can. Well, he's been, and a lifeline indeed has not been sent to a lot of these companies, which, produce millions and millions of dollars for the economy. But after the legalization, after that boom, it's now about to come to a crashing halt. Yes, now the $24 billion hemp industry is now scrambling to save itself before the provision takes effect November of next year. Many insiders say it's a big deal. It would be a mess for all breweries that use THC. For people that don't like to drink alcohol but maybe want THC, people are now scrambling like no other. Now, marijuana and hemp are the same species, yes, but marijuana is cultivated for high levels of THC in its flower. Low THC hemp is grown for its sturdy fiber food, wellness products. And that's what these people don't seem to understand nor care, as they are usually more often than not bribed by the alcohol industry. And how ironic that the first American flag was made of hemp. Now, after states began legalizing marijuana just years ago for adult use, hemp advocates saw an opening at the federal level, and that's what we were told. We were told that this go around that Donald Trump would be legalizing THC federally, finally, as part of the as part of the 2018 Farm Bill. Congress legalized the cultivation of industrialized hemp to give farmers, including our not so favorite turtle anymore, Mitch McConnell, his home state of Kentucky, new cash for all the new crops of hemp. Yeah, no kidding. And by the way, you would have to smoke like a telephone pole's worth of hemp to get any kind of buzz you would get from marijuana. And we might have to ask Jim about that. I think he did a study once. Now, here's what we know. Texas has a massive hemp market, that's stemming out of Waco, and it regulates their sales from just that. Washington State has adopted the program to regulate hemp. Yes, it's helping their economy. Minnesota, all these different places, but it just doesn't seem to make sense. And now here's the unsung heroes of this whole thing. Now, Minnesota's Democratic U.S. Senators Amy Klauchenberger and Tina Smith are among those strategizing to save the industry as we know it. It's a sad state of affairs when we have to depend on Senator Amy Klobuchar. Oh, what does this world come to? But why is Mitch McConnell helping kill the hemp industry? Well, American hemp farmers are now reeling in and trying to scratch their heads and figure that out themselves. People are saying that, maybe he was paid off. Maybe his CCP wife did the dirty deeds for him in dealings, but it yet remains to be seen. So that's what we have to deal with just on that front there. Well, now I'm going to name, and Jim, are you here? Let's get your take on that. We're going to name something here as the new anti-Semite awards are now here. Jim, you might be a nominee this year. Are you ready for this?
Embrace.
Okay. Prepare yourself for this. Get your hemp ready. So here's how it goes. If you don't know, there's a huge award show every year that's really giving the Oscars a run for the money, and that's the Anti-Semite of the Year Awards that is produced by the Stop Anti-Semitism crowd over there. Is now the Anti-Semite of the Year finalists are now ready. And Jim, I know you've been waiting for this moment for quite some time. So here's what we have. Some of the nominees are as follows. Well, pro-Palestinian celebrities like Miss Rachel. Okay, so that's all it takes. You got to be pro-Palestinian. Cynthia Nixon, the actress from Sex and the City. Marsha Cross, another actress who was, I can't think of her name at the moment. It'll come back to me. I can't think of what she was in. Mixed martial arts athlete and Holocaust denier Bryce Mitchell. Also, two personalities associated with left-wing network, the Young Turks. That's Cenk Uygur and Anna Kasparian. Yes. And they say far left personality Guy Christensen. And finally, far right personality, they said social media influencer Stu Peters. So those are the nominees of the year. Jim, I'm sorry to say you didn't make it this year, and neither did Nick Fuentes. But hey, Jim, for me, you're always going to be my nominee. I just want to say
or Tucker Carlson. Maybe we fall in the category of honorable mentions, Dean.
Jim, I stand corrected. Tucker Carlson is nominated this year. I did not say that, but it's worth noting last year's winner was Candace Owens, who is just upcoming. So she is a round of applause for that. But I'm ready to make another announcement here, Jim, as Real Deal Media sees it. We are now going to announce the nominees, and we're taking a vote as of 8 o'clock right now on our YouTube page over there, Dean Ryan TV. You can now vote for Real Deal Media presents the Dirty Zion Awards. Make sure to vote tonight. Vote tonight. Absolutely vote tonight. Tell the world who you think the dirtiest Zionist is out there. We want to hear it. And I'm going to name some of the nominees, and I am so excited for this, Jim. You have no idea. Our house band. Okay, so here's the nominee for the Dirty Zionist Awards, and you can vote on our poll over there on YouTube. The first nominee is Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro. Second nominee is Mark Levin. Third nominee is Dave Rubin. And Jim, by popular demand, the final nominee for the Dirty Zionist Award of the year is fake pastor Greg Locke. So you can vote at this time on that. You can vote on that.
Bibi Netanyahu is not among them this year, Dean.
Well, Jim, that's like putting the Beatles in the category of the the best new band of the. I mean,
you're right.
The name of the award given is the Bibi Netanyahu Lifetime Achievement Award. So that's going to be up there too.
Got it.
Seth Black says Ted Cruz should be on there. Seth, that's a good point. We might add that to the list. Thank you. And Seth, you keep it up, you'll be on that nominee list too. The other one is be very careful which award you want to be receiving here. Jim, before you get out of here and skedaddle, is there anything you want to add? Anything to why is Mitch McConnell going after marijuana once again?
I don't know. That's completely disgraceful. It's like his last hurrah. He's got to be being paid off massively. This is totally corrupt. This must not be allowed to stand. This has got to be overthrown. To hell with Mitch McConnell. He's never done a damn thing worthy in the best interest of America. And this is most clearly contradicting what has happened in the past. Legalizing marijuana, absolutely outstanding, the right thing to do. It's a victimless crime. Just because you prefer to smoke your high rather than drink it, it won't cause cancer of the liver, unlike smoking. It won't cause cancer of the lung, unlike tobacco. It won't cause cirrhosis of the liver, unlike alcohol. I highly recommend, and the fact that it's been legalized, standardized, marketed, taxed, it's been a bonanza for the states. This is an outrageous move. Hemp is a miracle product. It is so versatile. It's like ivermectin was a miracle drug. This is disgusting and wrong and must not be allowed to stand.
Jim, it sounds like you drink your high. That's what I'm getting from that. You drinking your high there. Well, you've never tried I don't know if you've tried THC induced wine. I have. They take the alcohol out. It is something to be said. It's not too bad. Okay, so there's that. And Jim, before you go, did you want to talk about your new show you're doing with Mike Adams? That's I believe it's debuting. Is it Sundays over there at Brighteon? That's going to be the Crocodile Adams show. Jim plays a wonderful cockatoo bird, and that's Bibi Netanyahu in the crocodile's mouth. That's wonderful, Jim. So congratulations to you and Mike on that. I can't wait to see it. It's Sundays, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Can't wait for it. Thank you very much, Jim.
My pleasure, Dean.
Okay, there you have it. What a wonderful... I'm telling you, I'm so looking forward to this. Yes, I know Mike is as well. Yeah, see, I've never seen him unshaved like that before. Anyways, we're going to take a little quick break, and we're going to have our little THC concession here. When we get back, we have a huge Real Deal International segment coming up. I mean, I'm telling you, there's so much lately that these shows are getting a little longer, if you haven't noticed. I certainly have. Anyways, when we get back, we're going to be getting into just where are the Israelis going, exactly, as Jim mentioned prior, as well as what the hell is happening in the UK. And you're going to hear another story similar to what you heard earlier in our headline segment from a victim of domestic violence over there in England, and just exactly why she was targeted and not the assailant, which really plays into the Orwellian kind of new, brave new world we're now entering like never before. So you don't want to miss that. And Ireland and the Irish are fighting back hard. So we have a huge, huge international segment watching World at War, the #1 late night shadow band show in the world. We'll be back after this quick message. Don't go anywhere.
What do you say to people who thought that the right of America was our friends, and we hear and see, we don't need to get into names, but you know and I know who we're talking about. What is your message to Jewish conservatives in the U.S.?
My message is this. Sometimes because they share our conservative views on many issues and we think about things the same way, we give them a pass. We say, well, it's a big tent. There can be no pass. There could be no pass for anti-Semitism. There could be no pass for people who speak about Israel as a evildoer who spread blood libels, or who play footsie with those who do exactly that. There's no space for that. Zero. And I can invite many people into the Republican Party that I want to be part of, the conservative movement, who I agree with 80% of the time, or 60 or 90, who share my fundamental core beliefs. Those beliefs are at the center of the conservative view. The fact that every human being is created in the image of God. They are shared broadly, and our Judeo-Christian tradition matters. And anybody who steps across that line, and we can debate who has, but anybody who steps across that line should never be tolerated inside of our party, our nation, our understanding of how it is we have to treat our fellow human beings. And so whether that anti-Semitism comes from a radical woke leftist who's now going to be the mayor of New York City, or it comes from a talking head who sits on the right, who was welcomed into the salons of the Republican Party and the conservative movement, we must call each of them out for what they are. And that is people who don't share our core understandings about human beings.
This is karate, man. Double leg. The jump kick. The side kick. The roundhouse. The tie kick. Body.
Wow. So that's who the deputy FBI director is. Don't you feel a little bit better? Don't you feel like you're in good hands, like you're in Allstate? Anyways, we are just about back, but we are sponsored here tonight by the Real Deal Media Night Owls. The visionaries or debonair who know how to karate kick, karate punch, just like Dan Bonbingo does it so well. All you got to do is go to realdealmedia.tv, realdealmedia.tv, sign up tonight, join the cause, join the movement, and join us for our weekend shows as our film nights are coming back every Saturday. Yes, they are. Just spoke to Jim about that too. I said, Jim, what are some fabulous Christmas movies, if not wartime films? So we'll be getting into that. We have, look at this. On Rumble, Maddie Lynn says, Billy Bonbingo bad. That's right. That's right. You know it. Also, big thank you to all those who donated over there on givesandgo.com/RealDealGo or RealDealGo. Real Deal Go campaign is just fantastic. Thank you to all those who did and have. You know who you are out there. And, I have a new item coming at the store, for the store, as I'm putting the Christmas collection together. You're going to love it. It takes a little time to do, as a lot of thought goes into it, but that's just that. Okay, let's now get back to business. Yes, his World at War is back, everybody. As I am sweating like Maduro, sadly, is right now. Okay, we are back. Welcome back, everybody. I'm still Dean Ryan, your cruise director, who's cruising with you to midnight and beyond here at the #1 late night show. As I'm shadow banned to no end because I'm not going to play footsies and pretend that everything is just in the political framing of it. If you critique Biden, you certainly can't say that's a person wearing a mask. Well, if you critique Trump, well, you must be a far left lunatic. Or if you think that someone else is playing him, then clearly you're in. It's just I don't agree with the premise, and that's probably why I'm shadow banned heavily, because I break what you would call the fourth wall. Is like you ever like sitcoms or TV shows, they're always looking at each other. I'm looking at the camera and I'm telling you exactly what it is, at least from my point of view. And a lot of people are thinking it, but are afraid to say it because you get outcasted, And what's sad is that I know a lot of people, at least a healthy portion of people that are, to me, there's two kind of Trump derangement syndromes. There's the classical ones we all know of from the woke left, and we don't have to repeat those. But there's the other one that is the Trump can do no wrong. Oh, how dare you? I won't hear it. Oh, Dean, what's wrong with you? Get your head out of your derriere. Are you okay? Are you sick? No, I'm not sick, but you are. I'm real. That's the difference. And it makes me very peeved, and I'm trying to control myself a bit more these days. And but what can you do? When you're just a individual, it's a scary thing, isn't it? Anyways, we have a lot more to get to here tonight as we continue with our hunt for Maduro. And I just tell you that what's going to happen now is the buildup to the war with Iran. That's going to be coming up now. That could suspend many, many different elections. Could it suspend the big 2028 transitioning of power when Trump is supposedly going to be stepping down, and the J.D. Vance, who he called incompetent earlier? Is that why maybe Trump is saying he's going to have a third term? I bet you that's probably what it is. But clearly something is wrong. Not happening. I mean, he fell asleep today earlier.
But this war is going on, and the president is trying to end it, not because, listen, we got a million things to focus on in the world as a country, but he's the only leader in the world that can help end it. And that's why even as we speak to you now, Steve Woodcock is in Moscow trying to find a way to end this war, to save lives of 9,000 people, Mr. President, as you know, are dying every week. More people.
I fell asleep too. I'm sorry. Anyways. It just puts you to bed, and I can't help it, but that's what happens. And you know what? I do the same thing to people every night. I'm sure I do. A lot of people, I am their lullaby, aren't they? So something we didn't get a chance to get to, which we'll get to perhaps tomorrow night, but we'll talk about Grandpa Munster and the new savings account. That'll be a wonderful story to bridge into tomorrow. However, now let's get to Real Deal International and peer into what in the world is happening to the United Kingdom. It is disturbing, and it's not sitting well with me one bit. And there needs to be a change. And I think the Irish, who you'll see coming up here, I think that's the route we're heading. So let's get on the Concorde and go to Real Deal International, shall we? Real Deal International, let's talk about it now. As you might have heard, just over the weekend, a story was released, and I believe Tucker Carlson was spearheading this particular story of a woman who was brutally savaged and assaulted by her then boyfriend, who was then placed in a hospital where, in a private conversation, she just happened to mention and use the word that describes certain parts of society with people that have alternative lifestyles that begins with the letter F. Yeah. In a private convo, and was then approached by authorities, the bobbies with their beating sticks, not to get an alibi or a description of her assailant, but no, they came to her hospital bed to arrest her. That's absolutely correct. In this next clip here, you're going to see how this woman describes how 11 police officers, mostly men, broke into her house to arrest her while she was, let's just say, in the bathtub. Yeah, that's right. That's how invasive it is. That is Orwellian. That is the city of London for you, that is existing, the center of the New World Order. Yeah, the Rothschild bastion of headquarters. Well, here it is over there in Pismore.
I've heard 11 police officers turned up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's completely ridiculous.
Yeah, I'd left my front door open. I was waiting for my dad to come to the house. I was actually in the bath.
And 11
they opened the door themselves.
And just came in?
And came in.
And you're in the bath?
Yeah.
And what do they say to you?
Well, I heard my name, which was one female out of the lot of them.
And 10 male officers?
Yeah. And then I heard my name, and I thought, it might be my sister, because it didn't sound like someone who was, because obviously I was upstairs in the bath. And then they just come up the stairs, and they didn't give me any privacy or anything. Like, I had to...
You were naked?
Yes.
How did that make you feel?
Disgusted and really upset. I was crying my eyes out.
And what did they say to you? What did they say they were there for?
Well, I was just asking them, can they just leave the female officer, and can they please go downstairs, as obviously I was upset and I had no clothes on, and they kind of wanted to watch me get changed, and I was very upset about that. In the end, they did send the males down the stairs, and the female officer sat with me. I was crying my eyes out. I was really upset. And then I said, well, what are you even here for? Because I was shocked. I was in utter shock. And she said, for malicious communications, hate crime and malicious communications. And I said, well, what for? And they said, we'll discuss that when we get to the police station.
Yeah, disturbing. That's the subversion that's now been happening in the UK, and people are sick of it, to the point in Ireland. Ireland is revolting right now. They're having their own variations of revolutions as we speak. And let me tell you about this. This is actually incredible. Well, there's now something or someone that has really put the IRA to pasture. They're called the New Republic Movement. Well, if you haven't heard of it, think of militia times 10. And if you really go back into the history of militias, as Stuart Rhodes told us just several years ago when he was appearing on Real Deal Media before he was hauled away, which I didn't know, is that militias were founded and originated from England. That's right. Well, in this case, the New Republican movement, of Ireland, has put a target on anyone who is, quote, ruining the lives of the Irish, who compromise the safety of women and children. Well, to hear it is one thing, but to see it is a whole nother. And take notes, because that little weather balloon that was supposedly from China, wink, wink, it went to Montana and Wyoming for a reason, and it wasn't just a little day cruise, as it was looking for militias. Yes, it was. Here is the New Republican movement. Well, let's hope we have it, as now the Irish are fighting back. Check this out.
To the people of Newry, Mourne and Down, we, the New Republican movement, have watched their councillors and MLAs over the past 12 months. The level of disrespect shown to the people who put you into power, this cannot be ignored any longer. We are proud men of Ireland. We are patriots. Your policies and decision-making in regards to flooding our communities with undocumented military-aged men is not acceptable. We will not sit back any longer and watch our culture and religion destroyed by the people we put in power. Also, the sexual indoctrination of our children in schools has not went unnoticed either. The New Republican movement will take immediate action against anyone who threatens our ways of life and the safety of our women and children. We have your addresses and known your movements. Every one of you are legitimate targets as of today. The New Republican movement, the 28th of 11/25.
So there you have it. They mean business. They have the names, and, just to put it in perspective, this is exactly what the Zionists had planned to do for almost about 100 years now. It's called the Kalergi Plan, to overhaul the West as we know it, because Zionists have always hated Europeans. They've always hated the Catholic organizations, hence Ireland, and to overflood these places, whether it's our country here in the United States, your country over there in, England, Australia in some cases, Canada for sure, no doubt. It's to overhaul them with third world migrants, to rid the national identity, makeup, belief system, social service systems, and bring it down to a buyer's market. And then when they're done with these migrants, just like the Bolshevik Revolution, they just off them and then take over. You see how this works? No doubt about it. That's why we are going to be presenting the Dirty Zion Awards, and I, for one, I can't wait for those results. Moving on here, speaking of that and sticking with the theme of just how dirty it can be and is. Well, now, Colombia, who, like Thailand, probably made a huge mistake by not requiring visas for Israelis to come over and have their way. Well, now they're eating what they call that crow. Well, now Colombia has now officially deported several members of the ultra-Orthodox Jewish Lev Tahar sector over there in the Judaism fields, who have now been accused of child abuse. And Mexico has been enduring the same sector of those religious zealots over there. Well, they sent him. This section have been accused of child abuse over here in the United States just recently. The group includes 9 adults, 17 minors, 5 of them whom are wanted by their home countries as they're stolen. In fact, here's some video of just that. Quite astounding. So here is the offshoot sector of the, not the Chabad, but the Lev Tahor. Where are they going next? It's anyone's guess. Guaranteed. Stolen valor and children. but yet they have the money. And some of those guys look like they smell terribly. I just can tell you that from experience. Yes. So there you have that one. Well, now a new poll has really come out. Just incredible, as Americans' sympathy for the Israelites, as you saw there, has now hit a historic low. Let me tell you a bit about this. This is coming out of Natural News, thankfully. Yes, that's right. America's sympathy is now drowning. A big data poll survey shows only 29.1% of Americans now sympathize more with Israel, which is down from 54% all the way back in October 7th, just several years ago now. Well, 21.4% side with the Palestinians, believe it or not. A Quinnipiac poll shows 37% support for Israel and an all-time low compared to 32% for Palestinians. Now, nearly 40% of believe Israel's actions in Gaza constitute a genocide fueled by over 70,000 Palestinian deaths, which our next story addresses that. Younger generations and non-white Americans are now driving the shift away from just that, the Israeli narrative. Now, initial U.S. support for, I should say, after the Hamas attack collapsed as Israel's bombardment intensified, causing mass civilian casualties, starvation amongst the very beginnings of it. Now, Republicans, especially older conservatives, now remain Israel's strongest backers. People like Mitch McConnell, who hate marijuana, THC, but love genocide, ethnic cleansing, and the sound of Benjamin Netanyahu's voice. Well, he's one of their supporters. Democrats and independents increasingly oppose Israel. Gallup found only 46% of Americans now sympathize with Israel from that demographic alone. In closing, Israel's policies risk permanent damage to U.S. support, potentially reshaping long-term foreign policy, just strategies in that case. President Donald Trump's proposed 20-point peace plan include Gaza's reconstruction oversight, but tensions with Iran and worsening humanitarian crises may accelerate that shift too and throw it into the waste bin where it probably was derived from. That we know. Speaking of that, well, now that brings us to Germany, who have they've now released a new study, and it's a real bombshell. Because when you talk about Israel, you cannot talk about not talking about bombs. And in this case, a new study has now been released as Gaza's true death toll likely exceeds 100,000 perished, shattering official counts. Yes. Well, the official death toll in Gaza is likely a massive undercount. A new study from German researchers suggests that true number of Palestinians killed exceeds well over 100,000. Which is far higher than the official figure around 72,500. 72,500, and then you take the 1,200 Israelis that were killed, majority by the IDF under the Hannibal Directive, because they were all against Netanyahu. There's something wrong with those figures there, don't you think? One has a military and backed by the U.S. Others have sticks, stones, and Hamas, who were funded, aided, and abetted by Netanyahu to create an ultimate boogeyman that never leaves. Where am I getting this wrong? Well, now researchers have found no evidence that Gaza's health ministry inflates its numbers now, the German researchers, that is. Instead, they concluded that the official count is quite conservative. Now, the chaos of war, including the destruction of hospitals and medical infrastructure, makes an accurate count extremely difficult when everything has been pulverized, as you plainly saw there. Now, the full impact of the war is even broader than just direct killings. That's absolutely correct, as other analyses now estimate other factors that have been taken into play, like the final death counts, hundreds of thousands of missing, lost children, losing millions of years of expected life. Now, despite a ceasefire, which is really true, but just on paper and some say theory, human rights groups warn that the crisis is long from over. Organizations like Amnesty International state that while large-scale attacks have lessened, Israeli policies continue to deliberately create deadly living conditions, restricting aid and essential services. Now, the combined evidence paints a grim picture of profound and lasting devastation. The conflict's human cost is far greater than officially reported, and the suffering continues, with most vulnerable, especially children, paying the highest price. It's really, really unfortunate. And Me for one, I will not sit idly by and support anything that supports that from a personal standpoint. And professionally too, you can put that up there and take that one. Well, speaking of cover-ups now, well, the UK is big into that now. The BBC, out of all places, believe it or not, have now released their evidence of suppressed war crimes by the British military, particularly the UK Special Forces. Now, as two former heads of the UK Special Forces suppressed evidence of war crimes. Former high-ranking officers told a public inquiry in closed evidence sessions just that. The officer, who was amongst the most senior in the Special Forces over there, said he had passed what he called explosive evidence suggesting criminal behavior to then Director of Special Forces back in 2011. So, you think about what was happening in 2011. You had Syria. You had a lot of these operations that saw the spring, the Arab Spring, if you recall. Tulsi Gabbard might know, if anyone can find her out there, the head of the NIH. But also the inquiry that subsequent Director of Special Forces, he took over, he said clearly knew there was a problem in Afghanistan. So that's also having to do with the pullout of Afghanistan. Yes, which, Israel has yet to figure out that definition of pulling out. Well, now the claims come from the testimony published just yesterday at the independent inquiry relating to Afghanistan, which examines allegations that the special forces over there in the UK murdered detainees, unarmed civilians, including children, during their operations. And these are very troubling allegations to the Royal Military Police now, as despite British law requiring commanders to inform the RMP of any possibility of someone under their command has committed these offenses, they're now looking further into the whistleblowers' criminal behavior allegations. I am so sick of hearing all this murder of these poor innocent children. I'll tell you that. And yesterday we talked about the lost generation, and you can now see that there is certainly a lost generation of displaced children in these regions, but also, see, I'm so pissed off. I'm just knocking my mic over. But clearly, the youth and the children in our countries are seeing this. And how many of them thinking this is okay? And with the video games they play, they could just shoot up everybody in these very violent games. It's almost a dystopian reality becoming real in some cases. Speaking of which, speaking of dystopian, well, that brings us to Australia finally for our final story. I'm just going to really bring down the roof here tonight. I'm just feeling that way. Well, now Australia's green energy shift has now triggered blackout warnings as coal plant closures outspace grids. Stability is quite in question. Well, you have to understand too, right now in Australia, it is summertime. And while the rest of the world, for the most part, is celebrating Christmas and the snow, in Australia right now, it's a place like Bondi Beach, everything, it's really hot. And it's kind of weird too. I spent a Christmas there, and it's weird to see the snow skating rinks and these outdoor malls with there's no ice. They're just rollerblading, but they still put the decorations up and everything. But nonetheless, right now it's very hot in Australia, which is a very hot warning that maybe a bushfire could start again like they had years ago. But let's find out before the DEWs do. Well, now Australia's rapid shift from coal to renewables risk nationwide blackouts. If that's not happening already, we have a huge Australian viewership here. They might be able to tell us. Yes. Well, now a government report now has warned that the grid will lack critical stability after a major coal plant has now closed. Essential stabilizing equipment may not be ready in time, leaving a dangerous gap. Yes, that's happening. That's happened many, many times here in the U.S. Now, politicians from both major parties admit to a decade of failed energy planning. Yet, do they care? What does the CCP say? Who are just sitting back and watching Israel make a fool out of themselves. Well, now the crisis serves as a global warning with an N, against shutting reliable power before replacements are ready. That's right. That's right. You don't rid your car until you have a new car to drive to and from work. That's the oldest lesson in the book. You don't get rid of your shoes. You don't like wearing them anymore until you find new shoes to replace them. This is just, bare bones, logical kind of thinking here. As now the Australian energy market operator warns that planned closures might have blackouts anytime. So we know blackouts are coming to Australia. May happen, could foresee blackouts. So yeah, the electricity grid is now, it's coming down over there, which, what's really happening in Australia, you must ask yourselves. So that's how that one goes, as that does it for our Real Deal International. I'm going to look at the live chats now. As if you are in Australia currently, are you experiencing blackouts? Are you prepared? Do you have candles? Do you have lanterns? What else do we need? Flashlights? You still have your guns? Don't tell me here. Tell me later. I wonder. Okay, so there's that one. We have Skippy saying the world's largest windmill will be in Denmark. Will be smaller due to green energy. Yeah, I should do more Denmark stories. In South Africa too. I have to remember. Yeah, but this is happening. This is how to black out the world. Put in the new smart grids for everybody to get on the smart city planning. It's very, very daunting. If I was in Australia, I would just, I feel so bad for the people of Australia, the ones who know what's happening, because it's so landlocked. Where can you go? It's a huge continent. And then the people of New Zealand, it's even worse. I feel so bad because majority of these politicians who just, roughly almost 10 years ago, you ask the common person in Australia about, who's their premier, who's the in some cases, who's their prime minister. A lot of them don't know. A lot of them did not know, I should say. But when they finally found out, we have some of the most prolific pedos in the world who are born and bred right here in Australia and then become politicians or doctors in the case of Nicole Kidman's father. And you know what I'm talking about? It's that kind of roster that they have to deal with. In fact, look at this right here. You think I'm lying? Look at this. This just came out. This was sent to me. This is coming out of a local publication. As now Sydney man charged over alleged international satanic pedophile network. Australia is the home of this, and England's not too far behind. And don't ask me about Israel. Yeah, look at this. 4 men involved in international satanic child abuse sex rings following investigation, Sydney-based pedophile network trading. Police arrested, his name is Landon Ashton Versace Germanta Mills. So one of these 6 guys here, self-styled independent investigative journalist alleged to have played a leading role in the child abuse ring in Waterloo. So this is some serious stuff here. Yeah, there he is right there. Excuse me, there he is. This guy right here. So this is always coming out of Australia, and it's worse than we know, worse than we think, and it gets worse the more we find out. And when you think about it too, the underground bases and the underground tunnels and the entire system of that continent of Australia is vast, it's deep, and it's very unknown. And there's a lot of playing room and ground over there in that continent, in the middle of the country, because people only reside on the coastal areas of Australia. It's only 24% occupied. There is just a complete mysterious unknown that's happening in that country. And the most prolific, like I said, the most prolific pedos all come from Australia. And then they escape. And then they take the sailboats, they'll take them to Thailand, to the Philippines. And one of those people was a guy who used to, I won't say his name, but he used to be here, Mr. Leatherface, and some other people involved too. And it is pretty, it's an infectious thing when you find out, I'll tell you that. So, I got to do more digging into that, but I really do feel, I have a very heavy heart for Australia. Being there 3 times myself over the course of time, It's very something. Okay, so there's that one here. Before we get out of here, I just want to show you this now. If you want to vote, and I'm going to try to put this elsewhere, definitely on my X account. We want to know who are the Dirty Zion Awards. You can vote right now at Dean Ryan TV over there on YouTube. And I think we will name the winners Thursday night for Real Deal Media Live. So Ben Shapiro, Mark Levine, Dave Rubin, Greg Locke. Sadly, they only allowed me to put 4. I mean, if we had it my way, there would be at least 20, but they only allowed me 4. I forgot who the other one that, Ted Cruz should be up there. I might replace Dave Rubin with Ted Cruz. That's a good one. That's a good one, yes. Okay, so there's that, and that's now going to, well, let me look at the live chat one more time here. So you can vote. You can vote on that. It's ridiculous, isn't it? Okay, we have people are saying pedos over there in Rumble. Pedos need to be fed to the sharks. There's a lot of sharks in Australia, right at the coral reef, right where Bondi Beach is. There's these coral reefs because it gets so hot, and then the water goes down, and the sharks come in more and more to the shore over there, Bondi Beach. When you go surfing, you're going to see a lot of sharks. They're going to eat you. They should be fed to the sharks. Agreed. Totally agree. We have Chuter53 saying, if you're smart, you leave the grid. Chuter, what about if the grid leaves you? What does that mean? Makes you think. Okay, there's another one. We have Margaret saying, we all need cold fusion. Where is James Martinez? Good question. I'll get him back. And Forsetta, yes, I'll get these guys. But we have a year in review show that I'm putting together. It's just, the question is when you do it, because all this big news could happen as you're filming it. And, you know, it's a gamble. Okay, and Rebel Mama says Bon Bingo is a contender. Yes, he is. Thank you for reminding me. We might have to conduct a totally different poll that's not on a very subjected 4 slots only. Very good point. Okay, there's that one. And finally here, yes, plenty of mystery in Australia. It is so mysterious. So mysterious. A story that I couldn't do, and I'm going to try to work it in tomorrow, is the head district attorney in the Jean-Benet Ramsey case, Hunter, he goes by Hunter. His full name escapes me, but he passed away about several days ago, and the father Ramsey, John Ramsey, has spoken out about it. And I'm going to, as much as I don't like doing the Ramsey stories, it's just a lot of bad juju for me. It needs to be done because we're all adults here, and we're going to analyze what that means, what that entails, and what I discovered in that case led to a whole kind of revelations of how the game is played and how real estate and the hiding of finance through real estate is done by the deep state themselves. And it was all kind of discovered and founded with the Ramsey case and put into the film that I made and released for all of you out there, which is highly, highly suppressed. So I'll get into that tomorrow. That's a man who we'll see if he died by natural causes, or if he was put an end, or if he was ended before he spoke out and on his deathbed. Be very interesting. So we'll get into that tomorrow. Also, the 6 Underground will come back. We're going to do a part 2 for Gaza. I would love to do Australia. That's going to have to be for the new year. Definitely. So you don't want to miss that. And I think we're going to do something on the Schofield Bible as well and the origins of it, which now brings us to. Brought to you by The Real Deal Night Owls. You yourself can become a night owl by going to realdealmedia.tv. Sign up tonight. And Real Deal go. Thank you. It's our new announcer. We're still working with him. Final thoughts here as we end the hunt for Maduro. You know, there's going to come in time as the new Republican Guard over there in Ireland has now shown us, where people that are doing the hunt for Maduro, there's going to be a coming time where the hunters become the hunted. The hunters become the hunted because, as MTG was referencing earlier, the American people are fed up with it, but I would say that the awakened people and the individuals around the world who've united, and that our union goes well beyond the border lines that people have carved out for us. This unity that you're experiencing here, that you see happening, that you have to get past the minutia of the lowbrow vibrations, and you look into the UNITY that's developing and forming across the world, is real. It should be acknowledged, it should be embraced, and it should be acted upon, because that's what's going to get us out of this. Not one single vote can necessarily get us out of this corporate communist, Zionist themed fascism that we're experiencing, which is the depopulation, which they're going to make a serious run to meet that Deagle marker, that quota, before the end of this year of 2025. That just has to give us the marker and to meet our quota of the hunters will become the hunted. And that is my final thought, because that's a real thing. So, okay, thank you for that. And you want to email me, you can contact me or Jim or anybody here at Real Deal Media's official hotline at info@realdealmedia.tv. See, these are things I have to start doing more often. Anyways, feel free to share this, because powers that be won't let you. Feel free to share it. I'm remembering. I'm doing what other people do. I need to do it more. So until next time, I'll be back tomorrow night, God willing. Until next time, for Jim Fetzer and everyone else here at Real Deal Media, I'm Dean Ryan, saying thank you for sharing a bit of your night with me and all of us. Until then, always remember to stay tuned and always remember to stay awake. Good night, everybody.